Well, greetings and salutations, all ye seekers of greater light and truth. It is July 30th, 2026, and we are the Violet Flame Triad of the molecular order, here studying greater light and truth as we glean it from these blue books written by Alice A. Bailey, or I should say channeled through Alice A. Bailey from the Tibetan Master Djwhal Khul. Last week, we finished the book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. Uh, and this is kind of a synopsis of our lesson. I'll just share it with you. So give you a head start here as you listen to last week's Zoom, as we link you up to last week's Zoom. The Externalization of the Hierarchy, a final study. We discussed the science of applied energy with the specific objective of eliminating the undesirable and that which hinders the entrance of the light, thus providing space and entry for the desired, for the good, for the beautiful, and for the true. We are learning how to redeem our bodies through which we function, through the purification and the redemption of matter of which our bodies are comprised, thus achieving self-mastery and physical immortality. This is why we are creating a power team of 40 players to rise above the effects of materialism, attain self-mastery, create heaven, and create heaven here on planet Earth. Remember, the man who forgets about himself and who is more interested in helping unhappy human beings, but who is nevertheless staunchly convinced of the factor of the unseen worlds, is the man for whom search by the hierarchy is at this time being made. Please say yes if you wish to participate with us in this marvelous work as we remain in the world, but are not of the world. So
Yes.
that's what I wrote. And a lot of it was quoting um, some of the highlights from last week's class. So anyway, yeah, you focus on, and I've been focusing on that, what I take into my body, as far as no more candy, not eating candy, um, doing hardly any hard alcohol, no cigarettes, no drugs, no meth, no. Anyway, once you start paying attention to your actions and what you imbibe, what flows through you, even words, you really can differentiate, the negative from the positive, and it does make a difference. Do you concur, Cindy?
I do.
Okay, then.
Well, you learn to make a distinction between the more important and the less important.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, everybody, guess what? We're going to start a new book, The Rays and The Initiations. This is the last book um, that he wrote on a treatise on the seven rays, beginning with esoteric psychology, 1, 2, esoteric astrology, esoteric healing, and now volume 5, The Rays and the Initiations, the last book that he channeled through Alice Bailey. Let's start off with an extract from a statement by the Tibetan. Ken, would you like to read that? Does everybody have a book, this book? I'm assuming we all do.
Is it the part that begins with preliminary remarks?
No, this is the part that begins with suffice it to say.
Oh, the at the beginning of all the books.
It's in all the books.
Yeah.
Oh, the
I'm,
book.
Okay.
I'm looking at the index. I'm looking at the full index.
Yeah.
It's
Just
14
page.
rules.
Okay, I've got it here. The extract.
Yep.
Suffice it to say that I am a Tibetan disciple of a certain degree. And this tells you but little, for all are disciples from the humblest aspirant up to and beyond the Christ himself. I live in a physical body like other men on the borders of Tibet. And at times, from the exoteric standpoint, preside over a large group of Tibetan lamas when my other duties permit. It is this fact that has caused it to be reported that I am an abbot of this particular lamasery. Those associated with me in the work of the hierarchy and all true disciples are associated in this work, know me by still another name and office. Alice A. Bailey knows who I am and recognizes me by two of my names. I am a brother of yours who has traveled a little longer upon the path that has the average student, and has therefore incurred greater responsibilities. I am one who has wrestled and fought his way into a greater measure of light than the aspirant who will read this article. And I must therefore act as a transmitter of the light, no matter what the cost. I am not an old man, as age counts among the teachers, yet I am not young or inexperienced. My work is to teach and spread the knowledge of the ageless wisdom wherever I can find a response. And I have been doing this for many years. I seek also to keep the Master M and the Master KH whenever opportunity offers. For I have been long connected with them and with their work. In all the above, I have told you much, yet at the same time, I have told you nothing which would lead you to offer me that blind obedience and the foolish devotion which the emotional aspirant offers to the guru and master in whom he is yet unable to contact. Nor will he make that desired contact until he has transmuted emotional devotion into unselfish service to humanity, not to the master. The books that I have written are sent out with no claim for their acceptance. They may or may not be correct, true, and useful. It is for you to ascertain their truth by right practice and by the exercise of the intuition. This last sentence here is kind of the essence of all of his teachings. He writes in such a way that we have to exercise intuition or we won't understand it. We won't learn anything.
That's for sure.
Neither I or Alice A. Bailey is the least interested in having them acclaimed and inspired writings, or in having anyone speak of them with bated breath as being the work of one of the masters. If they present truth in such a way that it follows sequentially upon that already offered in the world teachings, if the information given raises the aspiration and the will to serve from the plane of the emotions to that of the mind, the plane whereon the masters can be found, then they will have served their purpose. If the teaching calls forth a response from the illumined mind of the workers in the field, and brings a flashing forth of his intuition, then let that teaching be accepted, but not otherwise. If the statements meet with eventual corroboration or are deemed true under the test of the law of correspondences, then that is well and good. But should this not be so, let not the student accept what is said.
Well, there you have it. You know, he presents this in true humility. If it takes you from the emotional plane up to the mind and beyond, if it stimulates the awakening of your intuition, it's all well and good.
And that's one of the things that we have to remember. We don't have to remember all of the words and sentences, but we do have the connection to the total through our intuition.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, his writings really stimulate at least the higher mind, not the concrete abstract mind. They do that as well, but they stimulate the higher mind and open the channel to the intuition. Thank you, Ken. That was good. Okay, so that's a little bit about who the Tibetan is. His name is Djwhal Khul, channels these books through his servant, his associate, Alice A. Bailey. And now, Glenn, I think you had your finger on the preliminary remarks. Why don't you read that page and we'll see what we're going to study here.
Okay, so I am beginning the book Rays and the Initiations, Part 1, the 14 Rules for Group Initiation. And this chapter is called Preliminary Remarks. It might be here of value, my brothers, if I again laid emphasis upon the fact that the formless world is only entered when the aspirant has acquired somewhat the capacity to center himself on the abstract levels of the mental plane. This involves necessarily certain developments within the aspirant's own nature. The demanded contact would otherwise be impossible. What is needed is self-exertion, the resultant developments of which might be touched upon as follows. Number 1, the repolarization of the entire lower man, so that his attitude towards the aggregate of forms which make up his field of general contact has changed. He is no longer deluded by the things of the senses, but has in his hand that thread or clue which will eventually guide him out of the maze of lower life perceptions and into the field of clear knowledge and the realm where daylight is found. He will then no longer need to walk in the dark. This repolarization is brought about in 4 ways, each of which provides the next step forward. And in their totality, and when definitely followed, will eventuate in the total subjugation of the personality. These 4 ways are: 1, a constant and unfailing attempt to center the consciousness within the head. From this central position, the real man, the directing agency, will direct and guide all his members, imposing upon the lunar lords of the physical body a new rhythm and habit of response. 2 factors are of value and helpful in the production of the necessary polarization: the reiterated appreciation of the words, I am the self am I. The habit of early morning meditation, wherein the thinker centers himself in the point of control and starts upon his day's experience and contacts with the realization that he is only the observer, the perceiver, and the actor.
Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, he is the actor. You have the actor, the director, and the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So who label the participants? Who we are, if we are the actor, the puppet on the stage, what part of us is the director?
Well, our eternal self, the infinite part of us through the soul.
Okay, the soul. Your soul is your director. And then you have the audience, the observer, that part that gleans the benefit from the actor on the stage. What part of yourself do you think that would be? What is it that directs the soul?
Your monad
Your monad,
directs the soul.
right? So your
But
monad would be the part of you. He's not the actor, and the soul is the director, directs the the shadow self, um, the puppet, the reflection, which is the lower personality. So you have the monad, and below that you have the soul, and below that you have our consciousness. And of course, our role is to wake up to the director, which is the soul, so that we're keenly aware of his direction, leading us into green pastures and making the right choices. And then the soul, of course, is governed and directed by a higher authority of the monad, which gleans the greatest benefit from the actions of our personality, in my opinion. Okay, let's see. Let's go into a close consideration. Cindy, find out about that.
A close consideration throughout the day as to the use and misuse of energy. Every man should realize that in the use of energy lies direction and the treading of the path. It produces eventually truthful manifestation and the displaying of one's light in order that circumstances may be irradiated and fellow pilgrims helped. Students should familiarize themselves with the energy concept and learn to regard themselves as energy units displaying certain types of energy. In this connection, it should be borne in mind that when spiritual energy and material energy, the two opposite poles, are brought into relationship, a third type of energy is produced. And the work of the fourth or human kingdom is to demonstrate this peculiar type. It might serve to clarify thought if students remembered that superhuman entities display spiritual energy. Subhuman entities display the energy of matter, and human entities display soul energy.
Now, why do you think that is? Why do human entities display soul energy? Here we are.
We're a reflection of who we are.
We
Well,
are the soul.
so we're the human is the fourth, it represents the fourth kingdom in nature. And the fourth kingdom is between the lower three and the higher three. So if you have to balance the higher and the lower, like in your personality is comprised of your lower triad, and your upper triad, your spiritual triad, is balanced by your soul. That's the fourth aspect. So humanity represents the fourth aspect, and really represents the soul um, of all living things. That's humanity. So we have a very important role to play, and personifying not only love, wisdom, but harmony through conflict and balancing the energies that we're going to read about. So we represent soul energy. That's the fourth aspect. At least that's how I see it anyway. Um,
But the soul energy is kind of it's the intermediary between spiritual energy and matter energy. Like the threesome that's presented to us, you got the superhuman as the top level, all spirit. You've got the subhuman, which is all matter related. We're in the middle. We
right.
get to combine those two. We are physical beings. We do work in the material world, but we can guide that work with our spiritual energy.
Well, that's so
That's the blessing. We're right in the middle.
right. We're in the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah, and that's where the harmony through conflict happens. There's a slight imbalance, and that's how we learn. Without the conflict, we couldn't learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Okay, keep on keeping on there, Cindy.
In the perfect manifestation of these three, will the plan of creation be consummated? That's an important statement right there. In the perfect manifestation of these three, will the plan of creation be consummated. It should also be borne in mind that these three are nevertheless a manifestation of duality, spirit and matter, and that this is the manifestation of a great existence and of his appearing. Therefore, what are called the three gunas in Hindu philosophy are but the qualities he manifests through these types of energy. Superhuman lives express sattva, the guna of rhythm and of harmonious response to divine urge, of perfect display, of coordinated cooperation with the purpose of manifestation. Human lives demonstrate the quality of rajas, or mobility, of constant and conscious change in order to ascertain what is the real, and through the medium of experience, demonstrate the true nature of rhythmic response.
So yeah, so the human kingdom represents the soul, the linking, the intermediary between the higher spiritual kingdoms and the lower three kingdoms, the mineral, the plant kingdom, and the animal kingdom. So really, it's about, and you take it on a personal level, it's about connecting your spiritual aspect, and the lower personality with your higher spiritual triad that we talked about, and creating, like you say, Ken, balance, harmony. And of course, there's going to be a lot of conflict before that happens, which we're observing in the world we live in today. Okay. Well, thank you, Cindy. Any other comments about that? There's some new words for you: sattva, rajas, tamas. Um, a lot about energy. So the superhuman and the subhuman are linked by the human kingdom. Is that how you see that, Glenn?
That's what it says.
Guess that's it then.
Sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, it's kind of like we get the best of both worlds. We get access to the 3D matter, which involves pleasure and eating and feeling and singing and all those things. We got access to that.
Intentions.
And we can also access our spiritual side, our higher self, through intention, where we can merge the two. Where we screw up is when we get lost in one way or the other.
Yeah, you're kind of right there. We live in the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
In the middle, we experience pleasure and pain, and we do things. We have, our appetites are satiated in a way that in the higher spiritual worlds, they don't have appetites like we do, like for food or for physical pleasure. I think they've
And
gone
with,
beyond them. But while we're here, we are at a high point of appreciating, the worlds that we live in. Some things we may not want to let go of to move into the higher worlds. But
Yeah, and then you'll be forever bound to the wheel of rebirth.
yeah,
mm,
yeah. Well, we'll do it until we're saturated. Our lower personality is saturated with all of the desire nature that we can conjure and appreciate, and then
You'll
can let
sink.
go of that. We can move on.
mm.
Otherwise, you'll sink to the bottom like a rock.
What's that? You're going to sink to the bottom? What'd you say, Ed? You're
I
a
said
rock?
if you don't let go of all the fascination with physical pleasures, you'll sink to the bottom like a rock.
Really? Anybody here sinking? Hope not.
Yeah, hold up your hand.
Hold up your hand if you're sinking. I'm floating. feeling pretty good these days. Okay, well, Ed, read on, brother.
Subhuman lives express the gunas of tamas, or of inertia. They work blindly and have no ability to respond consciously to the plan. They are the sum total of the units of inertia, just as the human units are called the points of light moving within the square. This may have its appeal to Masons. Now, the idea about the points of light moving within the square. The subject of the use or misuse of energy is capable of infinite expansion. And in my other books, where I give you more upon the centers, I have enlarged upon it. I but seek at this time to give you that which can be of immediate use to students and thus lay the foundation for later work. A close study of the needed transmutation of astral and emotional energy into love, the energy of love. This involves the sublimation of personal feelings into group realization or consciousness, and when carried out successfully, produces in time the construction of a higher and subtler body, the Buddhic sheath. When this sheath is thus materialized, a very high stage of advancement is marked. But the earlier stages can be intelligently approached by any earnest student and probationer. To transmit the emotion into love, the following realizations will be found necessary. One, a realization that all moods, all display of sorrow, of pain, of happy excitement, and are due to our identification with the object of desire, with a form aspect, and with that which is material. Now, two, an understanding of the emotional or astral body and the place it plays in the student's development. It should be recognized as the shadow of the monad, and a connection should be traced between the astral sheath, the sixth plane, the Buddhic sheath, the fourth plane, the monadic sheath, the second plane.
Okay.
So we need to kind of consider what he's saying here.
Well, I know that all happiness and unhappiness has to do with materialism. You know, people that are happy, they get a new car, they're happy. They wreck the car, they're unhappy. Happiness and unhappiness has to do with their attachment to the material world.
Well, the Buddha says the source of the sorrow is desire.
Well, yeah, or attachment to material things.
Yeah, all pain is a result of attachment.
Yeah. So, you know, in my book, I always say, you know, we're free to play in the material worlds, just don't get attached to any of it. Be
Mhm.
able to walk away. You know, if your house gets burned down, you have to be able to walk away and not shed a tear and don't look back because you know that you created it once, you can recreate it whatever you want again, maybe it even better. Um, that's how I,
Well, relating to what it says here, understanding that the astral body is a shadow of the monad. Now, what Ken was saying is that, and what we've read before, that the astral body really is a shadow of our fascination, our fantasy.
all right. Well, here we have the idea of transmuting astral and emotional energy into the energy of love.
Yeah, we understand that. You know, for me, I say desire is transformed into aspire.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
a
Desire,
fire.
desire is what keeps you down at the bottom of the lake, like Ed was talking about, and aspiration takes you higher.
Well, the word desire really means of the father. Sire is the father, and it comes, uh, desire is from the father. So you get your desires really have a higher source than you think. That's what leads you into
Yeah.
experience. If you don't have a desire, you won't to do something, you won't do it, and if you don't do it, you don't get the experience from it. So, yeah, we want to shift our desires from higher to lower, or I mean, from lower to higher. But at the same time, we have gained great knowledge from our lower desire as they take us higher into
Well,
a
that part's
higher.
true, but we wouldn't be reading these books if had we not aspired to something higher.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we filled our desire, sire.
Well, it's interesting because the foundation of the concept desire means that which you do not have.
So I desire
You
something
have it.
I
If you
don't.
have it, you don't desire it. You already have it. Desire is always something you want that you don't have, something you're lacking in your life. I want that,
That could be a thing. It could be an
right?
experience.
Whereas aspiration says, you know what? I know that, as I walk along this path, there's going to be all kinds of different fruit trees, and I'll pick them as I see them.
Yeah.
Just walk the path.
If I don't like
You
this,
know,
I'll try another one.
and the aspiration says, I am walking the path that goes up that hill. I have goals, right? But I'm just wandering along, see what happens. Now, could you clarify for me, someone, please, this concept of the sheath, the astral sheath, the Buddhic sheath? It looks like they're numbered. Are they sequential? Or are they hierarchical?
Yeah, they're
Above the
hierarchical and they're sequential. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, above the astral is the mental plane, and above the is it the atmic plane? The atmic plane that's between the Buddhic and the monadic.
So are these like levels of achievement that you graduate through? Is that the intention of it?
There are levels of awareness. You become more aware, like of your soul, of your Buddhic sheath.
Okay.
And
So
then you're,
a graduation of the monadic sheath says I've achieved this certain level of awareness. I've now done that. Now I can look at the next level.
yeah, and that's
Am I
called,
understanding that correctly?
yeah, that's called an initiation. You're entering into a higher state of awareness. So that let's say you're operating on the lower mind, the lower mental
Yeah.
frequency. You're not going to you're not going to be aware of intuitive flashes because you're not open to them, and
Right.
there's too much dense
Well, I
energy.
get it. You have to be at a certain level to be able to see more.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's becoming
So
just aware.
I'm just sorry to simplify this, but I just want to understand this. So I'm thinking of when I joined my karate club, and the first thing you do is you get a white belt and you start training, and eventually you are of a certain level where you earn your yellow belt, and so on, all the way up through to black belt. That's how it works. It's hierarchical, earned, uh, graduated levels.
Yeah, and the way you determine where you are is by your works and your words.
Yeah.
By your works, you shall know them. You know, some people sit back and they dream and talk about things to
Mhm.
come, and then there are those that go out and make them happen.
I loved just sorry to interject on that. Last week, the I missed you guys last week. I apologize for that, but I did all the readings to catch up. And one part that I just loved, whereas it says that we need to pay more attention to the law of cause and effect
Yeah.
because that's where we have direct impact.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
we covered that.
Yeah, I know you did. I was just wanted to point out that I really enjoyed that aspect. It is the all the way throughout every one of our discussions I've been into, we're responsible to do our bit, and that kind of summarized it for
Oh,
me.
that's right. Cause and effect.
Yeah,
So what are you causing to make happen?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
nothing comes into to your experience uninvited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the joy really comes from service, from helping others.
Mm.
Like the gal today that owed me $50 and I only took 30. And then she said, "Yeah, but how come my husband had to die?" And I said, "Well, everything happens for a reason." And
Mm-hmm.
and without going too much into it, you might glean a little bit of insight from this book where we talk about coping with loss. And so she got the book and she kind of danced away, like I'm going to get something out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of interaction that puts a positive spin, and I know we're all doing that as much as we can. I know Ed gets a kick out of talking to these people at the senior center. Sometimes he doesn't make much of an inroad, and then other times he does. And when he does, aha, that's creates the sensation of joy when two spirits can resonate.
Well, we know we're doing what we came to do.
Yeah, we're doing it and making it happen.
And regarding the idea about the planes and levels and so on, I have a wise spiritual teacher. And I've said this a dozen times probably, but when we climb higher in the tree, you can see farther down the path.
Yeah. Well, don't get too hung up on sheaths and planes and levels. Just know that you are climbing up the tree and that you are making inroads. Just by being connected and committed to a group shows that you're way above heads and shoulders above the masses that have a hard time connecting with their neighbor even.
And it's all different frequencies of mental matter.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's see. Everybody's read but me, I think. Okay, so you got these sheaths. And, we'll read a lot more about them as we go through this book. But the place of love, the love petals in the egoic lotus play should also be carefully considered. Number 3, a comprehension of the potency of the astral sheath owing to its undivided nature. Number 4, a study of the purpose of the solar plexus and the part it plays as an organ of transference of energy from the three great centers below the diaphragm to the three higher centers. Here we have that midway point again. The three lower, the three higher, connected by that midway point, the soul, or the solar plexus. There, you got soul in that word there. Okay, there is a very close analogy here to the solar lotus, the egoic body occupying a midway point between the threefold monad and the threefold lower man. The more advanced should follow this. So you're seeing this all through his writings of septenness. When you study septenness for your seven chakras, your seven rays, your seven aspects, and there's always a midway point. That's when you look at the Star of David, you have the three lower aspects of the personality, the three higher of the spirit, are the three, and those two triangles are linked by the soul, the point in the center, the solar lotus.
That particular spot that he just described in the martial arts, it's known as the Tan Tien, Tan space Tian, and it is the center core of your energy. So as you're learning the power of martial arts, you begin there. You begin with that solar plexus energy and everything comes out from it. And as you increase your ability to use that Tian, which is the life force, your
Well,
power is enhanced. That's the martial arts aspect of what he just described there.
thank you. You know, along those lines, Bruce Lee had an encounter with Muhammad Ali. And
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest athletes of all time. And of course, Bruce Lee was without a doubt the greatest martial artist, greatest of the martial artists. They came together in a ring, and Muhammad Ali was kind of taunting him, saying, "A little guy like you, I've beat Joe Frazier. I dance like a butterfly. I sting like a bee. You can't have any effect on me." And Bruce Lee, he just stood there calmly, and he says, "Well, are you ready to learn a little lesson, Mr. Ali?" And well, of course, Ma, he's got his dukes up, and he's ready to defend against this little guy. And Bruce Lee, he just stood back and he just threw a punch right there into his solar plexus, and it threw Muhammad Ali right to the mat. It just floored him. He said, I'd never been in so much pain in all my life. I didn't know if I was going to live when he got done with me with just one punch, because he hit him right in the center, where the life force is, and that was his weak point. He says, I don't attack your strengths, I attack your weakness. Thought that was pretty interesting. The two giants came together.
Well, and Bruce Lee was about a foot shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably hitting us.
And 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah. Okay. So here we have, okay, now the development of the faculty of mind control, so that the thinker grips and holds steady the mental processes and learns to regard the mind as the interpreter of the states of consciousness, as the transmitter of egoic intent to the physical brain, and as the window through which the ego, the real man, looks out upon vast and, to the majority, unknown fields of knowledge. Number 2, an emergence into manifestation of the subjective aspect in man. Well, he's got away with words, doesn't he? One of the objects of evolution is that the subjective reality should eventually be brought forward into recognition. This can be expressed in several symbolic ways, all of them dealing with the same one fact in nature: the bringing to the birth of the Christ within, the shining forth of the inner radiance or glory, the demonstration of the second or the love aspect, the manifestation of the solar angel, the appearing of the Son of God, the ego or the soul within, the full expression of Buddhai as it utilizes manas. This emergence into manifestation is brought about through what is understood by the following terms. 1. The refining of the bodies from which the casket or sheath hiding the reality. So you can look at, Glenn, the sheath as kind of a veil that keeps the lower aspects of yourself from rising too quickly and being burned out. So the sheath is a protective mechanism that guards you from too much light at once.
And the frequencies of matter and energy.
Right. So here he calls it a casket or a sheath. 2, the process of unveiling, so that one by one those bodies which veil the self are brought to a point where they are simply transparencies, permitting the full shining forth of the divine nature. And 3, an expansion of consciousness, which is brought about through the ability of the self to identify with its real nature as the onlooker, and no longer regarding itself as the organ of perception. The ability of the self to its real nature. Remember that. So you have the monad is more of the audience or the onlooker. That's how I see it. And
Well, it's part of your eternal self, the trinity of Atma, Buddhi, Manas. The monad is the Atma.
Yeah, and well, there's the atmic, the monadic, and the divine, the three higher regions.
This concept was presented in the movie Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar, where the guy would lie down in this special bed, which had just enclosures and stuff, and he would go into a meditative state, and it would transfer his consciousness to this. It was called an avatar. It was another life form that he was suddenly inside that consciousness. And the difference was that life form happened to be 12 feet tall and capable of living in that particular environment. Right. So he'd be lying in this bed thinking, and his body outside would be running around doing things. And that's the splitting of consciousness that I think they're kind of alluding to here, is that there's a difference between our consciousness and our body moving through life.
Yeah, well, there are 7 aspects of you, and one is your physical body, which is moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
your physical sheath, your astral sheath, your mental,
Mm-hmm.
on. Okay, well, we can each read another paragraph. Let's see, Ken, read on. Number 3.
Number 3, the alignment of the lower sheaths so that the contact with the real man, the thinker, the solo angel, on the higher levels of the mental plane may become complete and continuous. This only becomes possible as the other 2 points are beginning to be grasped and the theory as to man's constitution and purpose is somewhat understood. As meditation is practiced, as the lower bodies are painstakingly dominated, and as the nature of the sutratma or thread is better comprehended, it will become increasingly possible to bring into the lower personality on the physical plane that spiritual illumination and that divine energy which is the soul's heritage. Little by little, the light will shine forth. Year by year, the strength of the higher contact will grow. Gradually, the downpour of divine love and wisdom into the head centers will be increased until eventually the entire lower man will be transformed. His sheaths will be refined, controlled, and used, and he will demonstrate upon the earth the powers of director, teacher, or manipulator, according to the major ray upon which his monad may be found.
So there you have it, Glenn. You just read that paragraph a few times, and that'll answer all the questions that you've been asking about the different sheaths and the sutratma, the spiritual golden thread that passes from your monad down to your physical brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're becoming more and more conscious all the time.
I just copied and pasted that paragraph into my reading page.
Awesome. Okay, Cindy, read on, sister.
A series of tests leading to initiation. When a man is beginning to demonstrate the qualities of his ray and to prove of gradually increasing importance to his group, he will be prepared through tests, through trials, and through temptations for those final stages in development which will put into his power the knowledge of certain laws governing matter and form, the keys of the mysteries connected with energy, with polarity, and with group relation, certain words of power, which will give him control over the elemental forces of nature, insight into the planetary plans, Upon these I need not enlarge, nor need I take up with you here the subject of initiation, Discipleship in the New Age, volumes 1 and 2. The first work to be done is the stimulating of aspirants and the preparing of the few earnest ones to tread the path of discipleship. The final point of our theme concern.
All right. Ed, read on the basic pure of our pure nature.
The basic essential of pure character. This is something more than just being good. It deals with the matter aspect and has relation to the hold or control of that form has over the man. We might express this in a way and therefore give it more occult connotation. If one or other of the three lower elementals, the physical, the astral, and the mental, are the controlling factor in the life of the man, he is, by the very fact, put into a position of danger and should take steps to arrest that control prior to an attempt to enter into the formless realm. The reason for this will be apparent under the government law of matter, the law of economy. The elemental life will attract to itself similar lives, and this will result in a dual danger. These dangers are: one, the gathering into the form through the domination through the dominant note sounded by the form elemental of matter with a synchronous vibration. This will tend to increase the magnitude of the task before the ego and sweep into it, increasing dominance the lower man. The lunar lords will become increasingly powerful, and the solar lord correspondingly less august. You know, you attract what you put in your attention. And he's saying if your attention is on the lower nature, the elementals, and this is a scientific method, the way it works, the elementals attract elemental substance of the same kind.
Well, that's the secret. You attract what you put your attention on.
You get what you vibrate.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, a man who has a desire to eat keeps growing and gets fatter and fatter.
Well, I've proved it over and over that I can manifest whatever. Now I'm going to put attention on, and I have been putting attention on people. It's like Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men. And that's really what the Gathering of Lights is all about, focusing on attracting people with a greater measure of light. The light is on and someone's
Well, that's all very true, and it is the method
on.
of the Piscean era. Now we're moving into a different era. We're moving into the era of mystic crystal realizations and the mind's true liberation.
Aquarius.
Yeah, mystic crystal revelations.
The mind's true liberation.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Gathering of Lights is taking on a clearer note as it moves up into a higher turn of the spiral from the Piscean into the Aquarian.
Well, I see the goal of the age for those of us who seek the spiral road, so to speak, is to develop what's called the antakarana, the actual link between your personal self and your eternal self.
Yeah, well,
And
however
from
you
that
see it.
point, you will know what must be done.
Well, the Gathering of Lights, that's really the next step in human evolution, in my opinion. So yeah,
Well, that's what
individual It's
That's all of the Piscean age, fishers of men.
Mhm.
yeah, well, now you're going to apply it. The gathering principle is an eternal principle, no matter what you call it.
Well,
Whether
in each age, there's a major tone and note. In the age of Taurus, there was the law, and the Aries. It was well,
well, here you have the Aquarian man with the pitcher, and the pitcher. What is the purpose of the pitcher? To serve, to serve.
watering your own inner garden is what I was told.
It's way more than that, Ed. It's about serving humanity, not just your own garden. It's
Well,
about
you
just don't interrupt me all the time. It's about taking your knowledge, your resources, your energy, and sharing it. And
right.
through that sharing, you will bring other people of like mind into your garden, if you want to use the word garden, into your periphery or your ashram or your consciousness. And that's the power of the Aquarian age, is through a group synthesis, not individual working,
Right, I understand that, but
but through a group formation. And remember last week when we finished this book, it says the intuition is a tool that is designed to empower people in group work, not just individual work, not just for your own garden, but for group work, so that we can all come together in a higher state of association and relationship. So
well,
that
I understand that. Group work is group work. A bunch of people hanging around a bar, that's group work. I say that you have to first connect to the higher realms so that you know what the group work must be.
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
hanging around a bar, I don't think that's what he means
I
by.
learned a lot at the bar.
But
I
yeah,
was
well, you're going to work on yourself as you move into the dimensions of group service. You're going to,
Well, first of all, you can't sell from an empty wagon.
yeah.
not, yeah,
If I may offer something though, what I've discovered through my trials and tribulations is that a life of service does not imply a life of suffering. We're not required to have a bad time while we do service. It's okay to enjoy ourselves. It's okay to reward ourselves. It's okay to lead a happy, pleasant life as we serve.
well, I make a quite a sizable income by serving.
Yeah, and there's
I,
nothing wrong with that. That means you
I
serve
take care of
well.
people's problems and in lots of different ways, and,
Yeah,
and I am paid very, very well for it. And then I can use that money to buy books and give those books away. I
and
can
to
buy,
serve more and grow more. Like 100%. Like there was the old thing in that in order to be of service, you had to be poor and you weren't allowed to earn money. And there was this whole servitude suffering thing, like penance.
yeah, that was a
And it, and
sacrificial
I
period.
went, no, that's bullshit. I'm not doing that. you know.
Well, along that line, Glenn, it's like in the days of Jesus, he would command certain people to sell all you have and give it to the poor, to the rich. But
Hmm.
that didn't apply to everybody. He wouldn't have said that to the poor, sell
Right.
what you have and give it to the rich. So, everybody has their own specific path to follow. And like you say, Ed, you can't sell from an empty wagon. But what you're really selling is the gathering of lights, the gathering, bringing people into closer proximity with each other so that we all as units come together to create something greater and more noble and more beautiful than we are as individuals.
And that is the reward.
And that's the reward.
you know.
Yeah. That's
Well, I just want to emphasize that if you as a group or an individual aren't connected with your higher self, you may be gathering and selling your own personal snake oil.
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right. Well, that's a point well taken. Okay. Well, let's see. That's a good time to wrap this up. I think we've made good headway. We're over here on page 8, and I think we stopped at number 5, which we'll take up next week. And let's see, who closed the meeting last time? Was that you, Ken?
That was me.
You, Ed. All right. In that case, Ken, why don't you close? I'll make a note here. Who closes the meeting so we can all take turns? So it was Ed. Before that was me, and then Ken, and then Cindy, then Glenn. Okay. Thank you guys for that heated bit of our discussion there. And the thing I like about this group is we can share ideas and opinions, and we may not we you know harmony through conflict really is the fourth ray of energy, and we can't really have harmony until we know where we stand with each other. So
Well, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Each one has a piece of the picture.
And that's it. I don't see that there was any conflict on our discussions tonight. Everything was just adding more to the puzzle.
you
You
don't
know,
think, you
I
don't
can't I can't see everything. So when Ken speaks up and says something I haven't thought of, awesome, thank you. You know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the great thing about a group is we learn from each other.
Right on. Okay, we'll close this meeting up there, Brother Ken.
Okay, we're still under the influence of the full moon. So we'll go with the great invocation. Oh.
Yo.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Okay, thank you, Ken. All right, my suggestion for next week, reread the pages that we read, and maybe you'll get a greater insight into what he's going to go into in the 14 rules for group initiation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all this because I haven't read all this book. So I'm really looking forward to going through that.
I'm excited about it all. Here comes another few months of learning in front of me. So thank you so much for opening this door.
That's right. May we all experience joy through learning and sharing and connecting. And thank you, Cindy, for bringing that soft, warm, feminine glow that you have to this group.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Hey, thank you.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Night all.